Steps to financial independence. Money can't buy happiness, as you may have heard. The person who said that to you probably had a lot of money. But they aren't completely wrong either. I think the truth is more like this. Having money is not everything. Being without it is. That's what Kanye West said. Even though I don't always listen to what singers say about money, Kanye has a pretty good point. When you don't have enough money, it can be very painful. Both anger and frustration. It takes over your life and changes how you look at the world. How much did that set you back? Oh, that must have cost a lot. Hey, I think I'm owed $20 from you. You might? You can pay me when you can. Is that Venmo? When we don't have it, it seems like every problem is about money. Even though being rich won't solve all of your problems, it seems like a good idea to try to get more money. When you no longer have to worry about money, you won't base every decision on it. You shouldn't just take the job because it pays more. You don't have to check the price of organic foods to make sure you can afford them. Even Uber Black can get you to the airport once in a while. Imagine being in a place where you never had to think about money again. Think about a place where money wasn't the biggest source of stress in your life and relationships. The steps to get there are easy, but you won't get there right away. Then let's get going. First, set up a backup fund. Save $1,000 and put it in an emergency fund that you will only use in a real disaster. I remember reading a story by Dave Ramsey about someone who put their emergency fund in a frame with the words, "Break glass in case of emergency." Beer money, trips, and even an engagement ring are not emergencies. This money should only be used when something really bad happens. When your car breaks down or when your water heater needs to be replaced. Basically, you use the emergency fund when something bad is about to happen that would throw your whole life off track. Why make a fund for emergencies? Because everything bad that can happen will. You won't have to ask your family for money again or use your credit card, which would put you deeper in debt. You'll have something to fall back on. The great thing about having an emergency fund is that it gives you a sense of financial independence. For the first time, maybe since you became an adult, you have some breathing room. This step is the fastest way to start getting back in charge of your life. Step 2. Pay off what you owe. About 80% of people in the US are in debt, and we just accept this as the way things are. Maybe we bought stuff we didn't need to fill an apartment we couldn't afford, or we bought a new car when we could have saved money by buying a used one. One of the worst things about debt, in my opinion, is that it cuts into your monthly pay. So when you have to pay $500 to $700 or more for your mortgage, school loans, and car payment, it makes it very hard to save money. I'll also tell you that you'll save tens of thousands of dollars. If you can pay off your loans faster, you will pay less interest. Don't worry about giving up your morning latte. Here is where you'll make the biggest step toward being financially independent. Say you have $100,000 in student debt with 5% interest and 20 years to pay it back. If you only make the minimum payment for the whole loan, you'll end up giving the bank more than $158,000. This almost seems like a big deal. So, what's the best way to pay off your debt quickly? There are a few different ways to do this. You could start with loans with high interest rates. Each loan is for a different amount, and the interest rate is also different. Based on the numbers, it makes the most sense to start with the debt with the highest interest rate and then pay off the rest one by one. The debt snowball is another way to deal with debt. It takes the way people act into account. We can pay off the smallest loan faster if we do it first. This gives us a boost of confidence and encourages us to pay off other loans. So, when I first got serious about paying off my debt early, I got everything together and put it on a worksheet like this. Twice a week, I would enter my progress. I would sometimes log in every day just to think about what it would be like to pay off some of these bills. And, like a crazy person, I would just delete them one by one. Like a person who is completely crazy. I also kept an eye on my monthly bills because I knew that if I could get them low enough, I'd be able to move out of my parents' house. So this was what got me going. I began to feel hopeful again. I started to feel like there was a light at the end of the tunnel and that I would be able to pay off all this debt someday. Step 3. Make a place to run. How would it feel to always have enough money in your bank account to cover your bills for 6 to 12 months? Imagine the freedom and security you'd have if you knew you'd be taken care of if you ever got hurt, lost your job, or couldn't find any more clients. For a long time to come. This is why it's so important to have a runway. Open a notebook and write down everything you spend each month. Rent, food, internet, insurance, Netflix, your phone bill, etc. So putting all this information into my chart was a great way to start figuring out what I needed to live on at the very least. And because I'm an independent filmmaker, my income is all over the place. This was an amazing number to have. Now let's do some hard math. To get your first target range goal, multiply that number by 6 months. The next goal would be to stay on track for 12 months. This number is now your starting point. It's like an emergency fund that lasts longer. Except that I wouldn't put $22,000 in a frame above your bed. I think the bank might be a bit safer. Step 4. Start saving for retirement. You know you should have a retirement fund, but you haven't started one yet. You'll get to it someday, but you probably won't. Friends of yours sometimes talk about retirement funds, and when they do, you smile and nod, but you're really thinking, I don't care how much money you have. And then you wonder, what is a 401k? I'm going to find out more. In personal economics, you often have to give up something in the short term to get something in the long run. By putting away a little bit every year, you can set yourself up for a comfortable retirement. First of all, compound interest is a piece of crap, and here's why. So you have a lot of cash, like $10,000. And then, after a year, that money makes more money because you put it into stocks and other things. And then you have more money at the end of the year, so you make money on top of that money the next year. Then that money makes even more money, and you make even more money the next year. I'll just give you a quick example so it's not so hard to understand. Say you put $10,000 into a 401k and got a 10% return each year when you were 20. If you don't touch that money until you're 70, you'll have more than $1 million. $1 million saved up all of that from just giving away $10,000. Use an online compound interest tool to figure out how much money you could have when you retire based on how much you save each year. So I chose to put my money in Vanguard. I mostly invest in low-cost things. Mutual funds are made up of about 90% stocks and 10% bonds. I picked this fund because it's basically a snapshot of the U.S. economy. So, since 1923, when the S&P was first created, it has given about a 10–12% return. And this fund is basically giving me that. Now, that's the big picture. We aren't talking about a span of 5 years. So, when you make a long-term investment, you don't check your Vanguard account every other day or every day. You are putting money in and making sure that everything is ready. And then you check it maybe every 6 months or once a year. You don't have to worry every time the stock market is unstable. A lot of people lost money when 2008 happened. But if you're investing for the long run, that won't matter at all because you'll get your money back in 30 years. Now, your own investment plan will depend on a lot of things, like your age, your income, how much money you think you'll need when you retire, and how much risk you're willing to take. Please do research before you put money into something. I am not your financial manager, investor, or guardian. Read up on it and make a choice based on your own life. This is not the only way to do things. If you're a freelancer and you can't handle that much risk, or if you'd feel better starting out with a $5,000 backup fund, then do that. Or, you might be able to handle the extra risk and decide, I don't want to build a 6-month runway. I want to start saving right now for my future and retirement. Do that then. I like the idea of first paying off my debt and then putting money into my retirement fund. But for many people, if they can't pay off their debts that quickly, they may want to start saving for retirement now. Especially if your company matches your 401k contributions, you can take advantage of compound interest. I wouldn't have been able to pay off my debt without reading books like Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey and I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. I think you should read one book about money a year or listen to one of the 100 talks on the subject. This will help you set your goals straight every year since it's easy to get distracted by new things. Once you have a good emergency fund, pay off your debt, give your bank account some runway, and start your retirement fund, you're on your way to financial freedom. And you won't have to wait until you run out of money to understand that money is not everything. Is it weird to ask for money right now? If you watch my show a lot, you know that I usually end my videos with a pitch for Patreon. It's how I can make these movies without ads. But I want to be very clear before I do that today. If you don't have the money, are trying to pay off your debt, are trying to cut as many expenses as possible, or feel stressed out about getting a cup of coffee, please, 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 please don't donate to my Patreon. This has nothing to do with the opposite of psychology. I really want you all to win. I want you to do wonderful things. And I don't want you to worry about money or make bad choices with it. So, if you have the money, if you want to, and you feel good about it, I'd love it if you'd consider donating to my Patreon account. I've been working hard to make really good videos and extra podcast shows to give you guys more value. So, these are some of the things you can get from it. I've set up a Patreon account so that you can help support my show. I'm not just asking for money, though. I've made tiers that give you access to things like my AMA show, which is only on Patreon. I also make films about being simple, making movies, and running a business. Find out how to do things like grow your audience or tell a great story through film. As always, I really appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.